I have no words. I can't believe it's already the end of the month. Like, are you kidding me? So that means it's wrap up time of all the books I read this month. I've read a total of 7 books this month. I'm very proud of myself. That was my goal for this month. I'm hoping to read a little bit more next month, but we'll see. This is usually like my average of how many books I usually read. So let's go over them and see what I thought about these books, my ratings, all of that. This is my first one for this month, and just in general, my first wrap up. I'm going to be doing them at the end of every month. So, like an overall reading review. This is the first one, first of the month, January, and I started off reading Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This was my first book that I read this month, and this is my first time basically starting off this series, the first book of the series. This book, there's 2 main characters in this book. It's Lily and Lo. They basically are fake dating, and they both are addicted to certain things, and while they're addicted to these certain things, they're there for each other. It's very painful, but also very emotional, and you become much attached to these characters. You get introduced to new characters, and you see their love for each other grow throughout the book. I rated this 4 stars. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. Lo is just, he's such a sweetheart. The way he cares for Lily is so sweet, and he's always there for her and doesn't judge, like the fact that they don't really judge each other while they're going through these addictions, their struggles. It's just very sweet to see, and I love seeing that when like the couples are there for each other. This was part of my TBR, and it was The Author You've Never Read. So this is my first time reading this author, and I really loved her writing. But that was my first book of the month. The second book that I read this month is Before the Coffee Gets Cold, Tales from the Cafe by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I always butcher that author's name. I'm so sorry. But this book was so good. Emotionally wrecked me. I teared up throughout this book, and it is so short, which is insane. How like these stories, because there's a few little novella stories between this book. You're in this cafe, and if you drink this coffee that this server serves you, you get to go to your past, and you have to sit in this chair the whole time while you meet the specific person that you want to see. And stories are just, they're very touching, and there's a lot of grief. You just really feel what they're going through. A lot of people that go here kind of want closure, or usually they regret something that they haven't done or haven't said. So it's really interesting to see why people go to the past, like what the reason is, and the way they come back. It's just the feelings that they feel after kind of gives them closure, and it's just such a great book. Definitely recommend this if you just need something that will make your heart feel full. I gave this book a 4.75. It was such a great read. I loved it. I'm excited to read the other stories by this author. I do have a few, so hopefully soon I'll be reading more of his writing. And I don't know if they're gonna wreck me as well. They might wreck me. So that was book 2. My third book that I read this month is The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. And this book, it was great. I wish I read this first. I know everyone has like their opinions on when they want to read this book. I personally wish I read it first, because I just feel like I would be more emotionally attached to these stories, and because I kind of feel like it was more spoiled to me, so I didn't really like that. But I still enjoyed reading this. There's different novellas in this book, and you just read about the main character basically from the beginning to where she ends up and why she got there. So it gives you a little story of why she got where she is, and she goes through a lot. You basically get a background of her character and why she is the way she is, and where she came from and what she went through. So it's very cool to see that in this book, and I enjoyed reading that and learning more about her. I think I gave this 4 stars. I would have probably given this 5 stars if I read this first, to be honest, because I really enjoyed it, but I think it was stressing me out knowing what was gonna happen, so I was more stressed because I was like, it's gonna come soon, it's gonna happen. So I wish I didn't read the second. Or did I read the second? I read this third, so I wish I didn't read this third. Read this first. That's my opinion, to read this first. But yeah, this was still such a great book. I love her writing. The way Sarah J. Maas writes, it's beautiful. It's great. I love her writing. The 4th book that I read this month. Oh, it's happening. Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. This book literally just, if you need a book to give you a reason why I love reading, it's this one right here. I read this book. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. This is my only 5-star book of this month, to be honest. Yeah, and I'm obsessed with this book. I love this book so much. The 2 characters in this book, Archer, he's such a sweetheart and such a gentleman, and my heart, he's so kind and so sweet, and the things he does and says just it puts my heart together. It makes me like, yeah, he's that guy that we all need to protect him. Archer has been bullied for most of his life, and then he met this girl, Bree, and she saw more than what everyone else saw in him. The story is just such a beautiful love story, and the location, his house by the lake, and the way she would bike to go see him. She lived in this cute little cottage that she rented out. Loved the visualization and the connection between these 2. It ate up. So this book, and I just want you to read it. Okay, if there's one book I want you to read right now, it's this one. It's this one. Okay. And your tears, there will be tears. Okay, there will be tears that will be shed. I gave this obviously 5 stars. I loved it. I literally cannot wait to read that book again. I don't know when, but eventually I will read this one again. Maybe towards the end of the year I'll do like reading all my 5-star reads and seeing if they still are 5 stars. I should probably write that down so I don't forget. Okay, that was book 4. Book 5. The 5th book that I read this month is 5 Feet Apart. I rated this book 3.5 stars. It was cute. Wasn't my favorite. The romance is very not spicy, like they don't touch each other. So if you want a good romance book, don't read this one. It was still cute. It wasn't my favorite. I did enjoy it, but it was just like that book that honestly I'd probably just give it 3 stars at this point, because they are CFers and they go through their medications and the process, and you kind of learn more about the way they have to live and what they can and can't do. It's very interesting, so you get an understanding of that. As a story for me to read, I wasn't enjoying it as much. The guy in the book, he was very like strong-headed and, you know, like a rebel, like a cool, like, oh, I don't care kind of guy. So it was kind of cool to see his change throughout the book, and the girl changed throughout the book too, so that was interesting to see, and I enjoyed that. But yeah, if you want to, you know, pick this up, do it, but it was okay. On to my 6th book. My 6th book is Heart of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. This book, this thick book took me a while. It took me like a week to read it, but I love this book. Honestly, I probably would have given it literally 5 stars if it wasn't that one POV that was just really bored. I don't know why, it was just really boring me. I didn't really enjoy it, but everything else in this I ate up. Selena, the main character, meets this guy who I'm not gonna say because I don't want to spoil it, but she meets this guy. He kind of helps her out become more of a badass, even though she already is a badass, and it is just amazing to witness her mental and physical growth throughout this book, like her changes throughout. So good, so good. I really enjoyed that, because if you read the other books you'll understand, but this book was good. I really like the person that is introduced in this book a lot, like a lot. This book was great. I rated this book a 4.5 stars. Honestly, I just took the 0.5 off because of one POV that I was just bored out of my mind with, but everything else was great. It was just building up. This is a book that was just building up into the next book, and I'm really excited to keep reading this series. Okay, now the last book I read this month, I wish I read more, but the last book I read this month is Ricochet by Kristen Becca Ritchie. This book is so good. So this continues the story of Lily and Lo. Watch them grow and see them try to be better. I loved seeing their family and friends being there for them, and it was just nice to see that type of growth through this book and seeing more positive changes throughout this book. I really loved seeing Lily become closer with her sisters, because before she would avoid her family a lot, like all the time, and now she's becoming closer with them, and I love seeing that because I'm really excited to see more of her sisters. They're fun and supportive, and I love that. I've never had a sister growing up, so seeing this is just like, oh. I always wish I had a sister, but these are my sisters right here in this book. So I really enjoyed seeing that, and obviously the relationship, Lily and Lo being there for each other as well and trying to work through their addictions, the progress, and seeing if like this will make it or break it in the relationship. And it just, it's so great. I love this series. I can't wait to continue this series. This is just the second book. I'm probably gonna start reading the third book next month, but we'll see. I rated this, I think, a 3.5. The ending was a little anticlimactic, but it is a short book, so who knows. So that's fine. But that sums up the 7 books that I read this month. I can't believe I read 7 books. That was the goal for this month, to read literally 7 books. And I'm very proud of myself. I hope you guys enjoyed this wrap up, and I will see you guys in my next video, picking out my next books for next month. I can't believe it's happening already. February. Hello, February. Bye, January.